So, how does one go about saying this nicely with compassion when there's so much hatred and so much violence going on right in front of our faces every day? Nevertheless, I'm going to try to. But this video is about Renee Nicole Goode being shot and killed by Jonathan Ross. There have been plenty of people covering this story, but as I have been for going on 8 years now, explaining that this is a universal thing going on and it's showing through all of us, I can also do the same thing with this situation. Now, there's no human being out there who personally handpicked a person named Renee Nicole Goode to do this. And it wasn't predestined that Jonathan Ross was going to be the guy that did it. But in the same way that I've shown all these other people align with their names in the universe, I'll do the same with these two people, and I'll follow it with a couple extra things. So first of all, Renee Nicole Goode, rest in peace, and I wish your children the best. Seeing these things happen in the world is despicable. It's horrible. But if I tell people the truth, which I have been, I've seen all of this. And it's not that I've seen it all through each individual. I've seen it in a grand scheme. Everything has to fall apart in order for us to have an earth worth living on. Not for billionaires, not for the rich, not for the political, but for the everyday person who just deserves a life, not being interfered with by people who think they have power over us. For Renee Nicole Goode, the universe is trying to show us something. The word Renee means to be born again or reborn. R-E means again, a reference expressed. Like you have a reference and you express something. Again, it's a reference. It means to come back to something you're referring to. N-E-E is used when a woman gets married and they have a new last name. Their maiden name is referred to as Nay, N-E-E, the name that they're born with. N-E-E means to be born, or a notion or nature expressed upon itself, to be born. Put those two words together, you have born again. The word Nicole. I know the word nice sounds too simple, but see it as pleasant. See it as in kind. Nice. You have N-I-C-O-L-E, a notion or nature identified, constant to itself, ongoing, as it lies expressed. It's just the way it is. Nice. Now, if you go into the definition of what they say the word Nicole means, victory for the people. See that as in something being nice, ongoing, as it lies expressed. That's a good thing. It's a victory for the people. Notion or nature identified, constant to itself, ongoing, as it lies, or the active base, expressed. So first of all, we have born again. Then we have victory for the people. And I don't even have to break down the word good. It's good the way it is. So when you have all three of those names together, Renee, reborn, Nicole, victory for the people, and good. It's not a coincidence that right now, while humanity needs to change and needs to grow and needs to evolve and move forward, we have a person named Renee Nicole Goode being killed. And nobody went and picked her out to do this. This is the universe aligning the way I've been talking about it for years. And I feel horrible that people have to be examples to die. The people that you know, the people you got used to in your life, yeah, they'll die and that'll hurt, but they're okay. And we don't want to go into too much of that because people just aren't deep enough to understand who they really are. Going more into Jonathan Ross. As I said, I wanted to show you how this all ties together universally, whether it's a spiritual language or other languages that people choose to use as defense or use as talking points. The name Jonathan in Hebrew means Yahweh has gifted. But what a lot of people don't understand is Yahweh is based off of El, the original deity known as the bull god. If people worship earthly things, which obviously they do, a person with the name Yahweh has gifted means from the lower God you have been gifted. I'm sorry that people don't understand that the idea of Jesus Christ and the idea of just Christ in general has been confused with negative things. And they don't want to hear that because they want to believe that whoever taught them meant well. But when they're collecting your church donations, they don't mean well. They're just following what they were taught to. If you take the time to look deep into stuff instead of just following what your religion says, you'll find out that a lot of it is crap that they made up, or a lot of crap that they are confused with. So if the idea of the lower God or the earthly nature Yahweh has gifted Jonathan, it's like saying you're joining intense ongoing notion active plus here active notion. You're joining it. and you're being part of it. The word Ross in slang says to mess up or act foolishly, along with a lot of other things. And I'll put the screenshot here if you want to read through it, because I'm explaining it the way I know it to be through the universe, not by the way somebody else taught me. All of these things are things that I understand without having to look into it. I'm just trying to find a way to relate it to people so that you can see that you can trust me. Because obviously, I don't have any interest in fooling you or pulling one over on you. My interest is in making this a better planet so that not only we ourselves can survive, but we have a future for our children and grandchildren. So Jonathan Ross, intense, ongoing notion or nature, active, plus here, active, notion or nature, Ross, to act foolishly, or if you see the other definitions, it means the outer bark of a tree, or the headland. And what are they doing? They're part of Homeland Security. He joined the thing with the headland. Don't you see that this actually is what's happening? Moving from Jonathan Ross, the ICE agent who shot Renee Good, I want to break down Gregory Bavino, who happens to be the Border Patrol federal agent who's leading the ICE agents. You can look at the way the guy dresses and see that he's more or less trying to portray the look of a Nazi foot soldier. And if you're doing that, you definitely have a big head thinking that you're somebody special when you aren't. In fact, you're leading the bad guys, to say it in simple terms. But his name, Gregory Bavino. I'll put the name definitions that they give on here as well as I speak, but just looking at his name, GRE means to generate or group a reference expressed. Gory, if you know what gory means, but since it's in his name, it's not that simple word. It's generated and grouped, reference expressed, generated and grouped, ongoing reference, vitally identified. So someone gives him an order, and then he go, reference, vital identity. And with his last name being Bovino, it's basically rounding up the herd. Bovine, ongoing, with an O instead of an E. And are they not rounding up people? Yes, they are. Let this sink into your brain for a minute. Now, since it's likely that a lot of people aren't actually looking at this and reading what I would put on the screen, some of the definitions of Gregory can mean to be watchful, vigilant, or it has also developed the meaning of flock. So if you had a flock of people who were taking charge of the ongoing herd, there's another way to look at his name. And another way to break it down, as I've said, when you see two letters next to each other like EE, that means that thing is being expressed upon itself. GREE can mean superiority or victory. But since his name, Gregory, only has one E, that's expressing outward. So if you were looking for superiority or victory outward through a gory thing being done to the herd, look at the guy that we're talking about here. Even though this stuff may be hard to fathom and wrap your mind around, it takes a little bit of open-mindedness along with being sophisticated and not thinking that this is just some playful thing that I'm doing, breaking down names. What I'm showing you has taken place since the beginning of time, and then some, because only human beings have the concept of time, the way that we look at it. That's going to be enough for Gregory Bavino, and now I'll move on to Clyde Emmons. So if you haven't heard of who Clyde Emmons is, he's a man who started a GoFundMe for Jonathan Ross after Renee Good was shot and killed. And the message he put on his GoFundMe page goes to show the mentality of a lot of people out there and the reason our world is falling apart. First, just look at his name. If you've never heard the word Cly, it has multiple meanings, but one of the meanings is to steal or seize. Now put that together with his first and last name, and you'll see that the last two letters of his first name, D-E, along with his last name, E-M-M-O-N-S. There are two E's next to each other, but since that's first name, last name connecting, there's a space there. But with two M's upon themselves, it means to manifest upon itself, ongoing notion, subject. With Cly having a meaning of steal or seize, and then sound it out, demons, not diamonds, but the thing that you to and from your expression express manifest upon itself as the ongoing notion, subject, and that's money. It even has M-O-N right in it, mun. He's stealing or seizing to and from expressions, the expressed manifest upon itself, O-N-S, ongoing notion, subject, by taking advantage of something that has gone on wrong, by someone being killed, and collecting money for the guy who did it. And I want you to read what he posted. I'm not going to read it out loud. First of all, he can't spell very well. Second of all, he's got an attitude of shit. And not only is it Cly Demons, put it together and it's the word demons with 2 E's and 2 M's. Now, when it's expressed upon itself and manifested upon itself, and you're thieving, making money for a man who shot somebody in the face with no real reason, it's not justifiable. If you've seen the videos, which most people have, there was definitely no call for shooting and killing somebody. If you're going to put somebody in a place of authority, they're going to need to learn how to control themselves. And this man could have done many other things besides shooting a woman in the face. It doesn't matter what other people are saying. Even if it was just a spur of the moment, a horrible thing gone horribly wrong, this is the universe showing us what is happening. When you have a person with the name of Renee Good, meaning rebirth of good, being killed by a person with the name of Jonathan Ross, meaning to join a thing and act foolishly or mess up, led by a man whose name references superiority over the ongoing herd, you should be able to see that the universe is coordinated, and we do get what we put out. And although there are plenty of people who talk about the theory of action and reaction as if they fully grasp the idea, they don't seem to understand that that pertains to the world as a whole. And what people are getting back now is the results of so much neglect towards all other life. Not just people, because that's included, but all other life. The way we treat nature, the way we treat animals, the way we treat each other. It is coming back on us tenfold because things are speeding up due to our ability to communicate faster. And that all pertains to the word. And then when you put it all together and see that the guy who started a GoFundMe for the officer who shot the woman in the face and talked horribly about the whole situation, named Clyde Emmons, that can mean thieving demon, can't you see that what I've been saying for years is true? Anyone who's heard me talking about this for long enough who hasn't said anything, please speak up, because sitting back and doing nothing is not going to help. The only way we can do anything to fix this problem is to be brave enough to stand up and do something about it. And that doesn't mean go out and be wild. Like I've said a million times, this happens from the inside out. This happens from the heart and the mind working together, not being over-emotional and too feely, and not being too logical and too thoughtful about everything. You can't sit and be like, oh, well, I logically understand. I've read all the history, and I've seen all the great historical people and the scientific studies. Where is that going to get us in a world where 90% or more of the people don't use their brain effectively? The answers to these problems are simple. Putting them in practice is hard, only because we've been taught to do something for so long, and there's many things that fit in that category. One of the main ones, and I'm sorry if this gets under anyone's skin, is what we eat, what we take in. It does not matter what we've done through history, and I'm not going to go into long stories about why I know this, because people won't be able to understand it no matter how intelligent they think they are. But the energy that we take in from death and sacrifice and blood has been affecting humanity for a very long time. And whether people's hearts are in the right place or their minds are in the right place and they mean well, they're coming from a lower mentality because of how they've been raised. Humanity needs to grow and evolve, and that won't happen through falling back on a Bible or any religion that tells you that God gave you animals to do whatever you want with. That's not what any of this stuff means. None of the scriptures are literal, none of them. And it doesn't matter if that hurts your feelings. That's where you've got to be mature enough to look deeper into what you thought you knew. And until someone actually communicates with me one-on-one, it's hard for me to put it all in a video. This actually takes your individual effort to understand. No video is going to give you all the answers, but I can give you the answers if you're willing to reach out and communicate with me. So if you have any questions about this video and what I'm saying here, ask them. All I'll be doing with the rest of my time on Earth is trying to wake people up to the reality of our universe, above and beyond anything anyone's ever heard or known. And no matter how that sounds, that's the truth. I'm going to leave this video at this. And I'm not the best at putting these things together because I'd rather deal with people in person, or at least one-on-one in some kind of way of communicating. Computers have separated us. Technology is not the great savior everyone wants to think it is. It's actually keeping us farther apart and destroying us more and more. We've got to get ourselves together, and we've got to come together with each other. So until next time, I'll be waiting. Peace and God bless.